I just wanted to come on and see if you guys have any questions that I could answer. Um, I'm putting together some content. I don't know if you actually can see my screen, but I started writing some content related to the coronavirus and COVID-19, and just some tips for parents and some other things that they can do. So I wanted to see if that is something that interests you. And so if you have any needs or you have questions related to it, I just want to be here to answer that. So I wanted to see if there are questions that you feel like would be good to make a video about, and see if there's answers out there. If you are coming online, please let me know where you're from. If you've got any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Just wanted to pop on and kind of see what people are up to. What is today? It feels like every day. Hey, Jonathan. Good to see you. Hope everything's well, you and your family. I was curious to get what questions that you might have related to the coronavirus and parenting. If there's anything that I can support you with or help you with, I'd be happy to. As I had said earlier, I'm creating some content, of some of the things that I've learned through this process and have helped me. And that's sometimes kind of what I like to do. I take things that work for me and see if I can help anybody else with it. So if you do have questions or so, let me know. Sorry, these chats, I always have difficulty with this. Rockmeister33, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Where are you located? If you do pop on, let me know where you're coming from or where you're located. Maybe how you holding up. How are things going for you? Sorry, it's a little close. My kids made this probably 2 years ago or something. I've left that at my home office. Yeah. Hey, Rockmeister. All right, out of Ohio. Yeah, I mean, I think Jonathan, when you have younger kids, they don't really understand what's going on. All they know is that maybe something's different. That's not a coronavirus cough, by the way. Yeah, thanks, P. Yeah, we are doing well. My kids are a little bit older. They're 9 and 11, so and they're used to routines. Just because my wife and I were just talking about this, is we are routine people. We get up in the morning, we have our routines, we do the similar things every day. So for us, it is challenging, obviously, with my wife not being able to work. She's a nurse in a certain industry, and they're closed right now. And so, but for me, in addition to the dad content, I do consulting for companies, and there are companies cutting back, but for me, I still have a lot of work to do, and I can do it remotely, which is nice. I do have an office, but I haven't been going there. Yeah, it's an interesting time, and I just wanted to see if I can help in any way or support if anybody has questions. But then also, if you think that there's topics that might be good, I'm looking at creating a couple videos for working at home suggestions, as well as some parenting tips during this time. And these are all things, like I said, that they've worked for me. I started out really frustrated the first couple of days with this, and couldn't get my bearings for the first couple of days. And then after that, kind of got into a groove just through the different exercises that I do of meditation and gratitude and these things. And now it's been okay. I think we're in an easier situation than many. Just financially being able to weather the storm, I think, is a big thing. And for many people who are not, I mean, we have people in our community that were, you know, we're putting together fundraisers and donations and things. And it's tough, you know, when you're worried about money and you're worried about, you know, rent or mortgage, you know. Hey, Jonathan, all right, good seeing you. Um, yeah, when you're worried about those things, you're worried about, you know, paying your bills, you know, that a lot of times take precedence to some of the other things that are going on. You know, the kids are going to be okay. What I do feel for are some of the kids that are in situations in which, you know, school is an escape for them. You know, they might be in kind of bad situations at home, and for them school is an escape, and school actually provides them that safety and that interaction. And if they're at home in a bad situation, you know, those are the kids we really feel for. And I'm not sure how to fix that right now. You know, there's a lot of broken homes and there's a lot of unhappy people, and when you mix kids into that picture, you know, it's a recipe for disaster. So our thoughts and prayers go out to people that are dealing with that. So but yeah, I just wanted to see if you have any questions, if, you know, where are you coming from, where are you popping in from, you know, and if there's any information or subject matter that you want to talk about, you know, I'm here to do that. I think you know, this has been a difficult thing for everybody, and we're all in the same boat necessarily, but at the same time we're not. You know, many have advantages over other ones. You know, like I said, you know, financially is a big one. If you've saved or you're in a situation in which you're still able to bring in income. Hey, Chris, how are you? Good to see you. You know, that can be just a little bit more calming. You know, for me, even though income has been affected, it's still something that, you know, I don't. It's not in the immediate mind. I can weather that storm. Um, Having a hard time getting the baby to sleep. Um, let's see. Having a hard time getting the baby. Let's. Oh, sorry. Notifications are coming on. Rockmeister 33. Having a hard time getting baby to sleep at night. Usually not until 1 a.m. Any advice? Well, it depends on how old the baby is. I did a video on getting your baby to sleep, and some of the things for that. You know, reducing the things that are in the crib, getting them on a routine. There are some very specifics. Why don't you post how old your baby is? That might help. But a lot of it is just sticking with it too. You know, before 4 months or so. Okay, so 6 months, they should be starting to get into that routine. If you can hopefully get into a routine, that would be really good. Um, yeah, I would say check out that video of, like, you know, how to get your baby to sleep through the night. That was one where I had a lot of those tips, and that might be able to help. Chris, sorry, I've got all these things. Um, Worried they might not be able to go with the wife to the hospital. Yes, P has the same thing. Worried might not be able to go to the hospital for the birth of the time when the birth comes. Yeah, no, that's a real thing, and I understand that you know, that can be hard. So I feel for you. You know, you think of all of these situations. You know, even from a kid's perspective, of a kid having a birthday party, to, you know, graduation, to like a senior in high school, you know, having their big senior day, to a baby being born. You know, people had weddings planned, or, you know, all kinds of things that is being disrupted, and that's hard. That is hard. I think the best that we can do is to try to think about the positive things. You know, the fact that you know, you are going to have a baby is awesome. You know, you'll look back and maybe, you know, 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is, and say, gosh, remember when that all went down. But it is a hard situation. Everybody, has their own difficulties with it, and that's a big one. And so I feel for you. I'm sorry that you have to go through that. I don't know that there's any tips or, suggestions other than, finding some positivity and gratitude with what it is that you have versus what you don't have. And I'm going to do a video about that. That was something I also, I talked with my kids about, that is because when this first started happening, that was the first thing that happened, is my kids saying, hey, we're not going to be able to do this, and we're not going to, what about this? And I mean, and even some of the little things, hey, we can't go camping now, or, I'm not going to have that assembly at school. And they had to, I had to sit them down and put it in perspective that, these are little things in the big scheme of life. Now having a child is not a little thing, but for your safety and for the safety of everybody else, it seems like, that's what there's a thought of doing that. So I think, yeah, you have to figure out some way, because you can't control it. You can't change it. Sorry, my chat's going here. So yeah, Chris and P, I think, I'm sorry that you have to go through that. It is tough. Hopefully, if by that time they'll allow it. If not, like I said, you can't. It's not worth it for you inside and internally to be angry or anxious or anything on something that you can't control. Easier said than done, but hopefully, you'll be able to work on some of that and be prepared. You know that the hope is then you just have a healthy baby, and you'll be able to do that. So, Erica, hey, how are you? Good to see you here. What's your advice on having patience with 2 kids under the age of 2? My advice is that is not easy. I did a video on patience. You can look it up in the video, all the videos that I have, and there's one specifically on being more patient. It takes practice. I am not a patient person by nature, and I had to learn how to be patient. And my children are the ones who forced that upon me. I was forced to be more patient. So some of the things that I've talked about are, actually doing meditation, and breathing, and practicing gratitude, and then also, not taking things personally. There's a lot of different things that we can do, but it takes practice. Patience isn't something that's going to happen overnight. You have to catch yourself. Maybe it's your body or your heart rate. Something's changing. I noticed that with me, like my heart rate will go, and I can feel my blood pressure kind of like boil up. You just have to count. You've got to figure out different ways and what works for you. And you catch yourself. I mean, the fact that you're first now just even catching yourself being, that you're not patient, that's kind of the first step, because a lot of people don't even recognize that. And then it's practicing it. It doesn't come overnight. And having kids under 2, under 4, under 6, you end up having to be patient. See these gray hairs? I did not have these before I had children. Oh wow, that light's pretty bright. Sorry. I didn't have these gray hairs. Let me see if I can, there, maybe that'll help a little bit. So I think patience is something that you just have to practice. It doesn't come naturally for me. And I meditate every day. I practice yoga. I catch myself breathing, and I'll find that my heart rate, I started wearing a heart rate monitor. There's various things that you can do, but like I said, it takes practice. So hopefully that helps. But I would watch the video on patience. I did a video on patience. Yeah. Well, P, hopefully, yeah, hopefully that helps. I know he or she he's dealing with the idea of maybe not being able to go see your child, and that's hard, just with the fact of like some families that are separated, they can't travel. Imagine too that's happening, and in some of the places of the world, some of the things that are happening is just it's just really really crazy. And that's one of the things I'm gonna, I'd want to find out from you guys too. Is what are the things that you need during this time? What is the information that I can hopefully provide? Like I said, I'm trying to get through. Well, it's shut off now, my computer, but trying to get through some video ideas and producing some more content. These last 2 weeks or so, I've actually been pretty crazy and haven't so we've got some clips up, but nothing that's related to kind of what's going on. And so I want to get that content out there to you guys, and that's important for me, and it's important, I think, for people to hear. And a lot of it's going to be just related to that is some of the things that I've done that have helped me, because I'd say the first 4 days, 3 or 4 days that I'm in San Diego, California, and pretty early on, we practiced, sort of self-quarantined, and then we were sort of forced to, but, our family just was like, okay, that's it. And then the schools closed, and, everything sort of happened so fast that I felt myself having a lot of anxiety, a lot of, a little bit of anger, and then maybe feeling a little depressed as well. At first, it was very me oriented, like how is this going to affect me. Then I started turning to my family and realizing how much this is going to affect my kids and my wife, and wow, she's not going to be able to work now, and my kids are off of school, and how are we going to manage it, like. And then I started looking at the even broader picture and what some people are actually going through, and started really looking at gratitude and the situation that I'm in, and having the ability to do what I do and have my family, although my extended family, my father and my my in-laws and my sisters and stuff, it's like, we're all in different parts, so we can video chat, but that's about it. We obviously, it's not safe to do anything else. So it is hard, and we all are looking at it, how it's affecting us personally. But I think you have to shift that in order to kind of survive any sort of taxing situation. You have to stop focusing on yourself and focus on other people. And I find that helps me tremendously. When I'm more worried about you guys, and I'm worried about like a lot of the content we're pushing out, with like Instagram posts and our various content that we're trying to produce, that actually makes me feel better, that, to focus on other people. Granted, it doesn't make me feel better because I'm worried about what is happening out in the world, and because people are much more worse. But yeah, it does affect everybody. Yeah, so let's see a couple questions here. That's a good one. Rockmeister, how are you explaining where the disease came from to your kids? So my kids are a little bit older. They're 9 and 11, so they can understand it a little bit better. But for younger kids, it might be a little bit more difficult. The CDC and the the World Health Organization, do have websites that make recommendations on, what to say to kids or how to explain it. There's also a video that I shared. You know what? Maybe I will share it. I don't know if I can share it in the community here, but I've shared it on Facebook and maybe on Twitter. If you go to Dad University on Facebook or Twitter and subscribe or follow, I'll push out a video of like how to explain it to kids, like a disease and what that means, and like the washing of your hands and how it passes. It's really, really helpful. And I had my kids watch it and they loved it. It made sense to them. It made it a little less scary. But we're honest with our kids, and as much as they ask questions, we'll answer them. We don't. I don't know that you need to explain more than they are not curious about. In other words, if they're not asking you questions, they may not really care about it. Not need to know. It's kind of like when you talk about sex. You want them to know certain things, and so you will give them information, and you want to make it clear to them, saying, "Hey, listen, if you have questions, make sure that you ask." But yeah, I'm just saying we're being honest and saying, hey, at least as much as we know, it started here, from possibly a market, overseas, and then quickly spread, and that's kind of what we know, and going by the information. I'm trying not to rely on any news sources of, any of the news sources to me are not worth listening to. I personally just stick with, the CDC and the World Health Organization, the official information. If you just crave that information, then those are the ones that, we'll look to. But I personally am not watching the news. I'm not looking at the news online. I'm going to talk about that in my video. I think it's just horribly negative, and it's not helping. It's not helping anything. So I try to stay away from that. Another thing, I think it was brought up here. The shelter in place is crazy. Yeah, getting outside. Yeah, I would recommend. They are saying that it is okay, at least here in the U.S. I don't know where everybody is. Here in the U.S., that it is okay to walk outside and go for a walk. You just have to keep your social distance. And so where I live, I've actually gone on a couple runs. I did it early in the morning on the weekend. And I don't like to run very much. I do other exercises, but it was nice to get out and just get some fresh air. So we did, my wife and I went for a run. I then went for a run with my son. Our whole family did a run. We've done a couple of those, and that has been nice. And so, yeah, I do think it's important if you have a yard, to get outside. You, at least here in the U.S., you can still go outside. There are some countries, I think, where they're actually making you stay indoors and they don't want you going outside. So you have to keep your sanity, and that's also taking care of yourself. You've got to be mindful of that you're not, and especially, for us that have kids, and that's why we're on Tat University here, you've got to take care of yourself before you can take care of somebody else. And so self-care is absolutely important. And self-care means you're exercising, or you're eating well. If you do meditate, even if you don't, I would highly suggest it. There's a lot of stuff going on online. If you're familiar with Jay Shetty, I know that he has a daily meditation, so that's been really good. There's a lot of stuff that, positivity that you've got to fill your head with and fill your kids' heads with, rather than all this negativity that's out there. There's so much negativity on social. Granted, there's some funny stuff too. But I'm trying to limit how much time I'm spending. I still do my work during the day, so I'm on the computer for 12 hours a day. But I'm trying to limit the social activity and the news activity and such to very little that I can. So that doesn't mean not posting things or not consuming something that is positive or dad or parent related. But, I'm not going to watch the news. I just don't, and I choose not to, and I don't want to, and hopefully you guys aren't either. I don't need to sit there and monitor the death count. I don't need to monitor how many new cases there are. None of that is positive. I've had my best days of me feeling the best when I was away from a computer. So maybe that means something. I built a ramp for my children's guinea pig cage. You know, that was one of the most exciting things that I've done non-work. You know, I don't build that many things, and it was really cool to just like, you know, build something. So I think that's the stuff that we've got to think about is just, you know, positivity, hanging in there. You've got to be grateful for what it is that you do have. If you guys have questions, post them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer. This is crazy. This is a crazy time, you know, and we do have to rely on each other. We do have to support each other and, you know, be nice to each other. I think we're learning some new things too of, you know, it was kind of nice. I went jogging and it seemed like people were so friendly. You know, I mean, granted, we were keeping distance, but, you know, everyone was waving. And people don't normally wave when you run by them. People usually keep to themselves, and people were very friendly, and I'm hoping that that continues. Now, there certainly is the other aspect of it that many people are going nuts, being confined to their houses, but you got to stay inside. You absolutely have to stay inside, and I'm hoping that everybody is doing that, not for even your own protection, but the protection of everybody else. I sent a thing on social media about that, like, this isn't about you. It's about other people, and the fact is that you could be carrying it and pass it on to somebody else. Is you've got to stay away from everybody, and we've got to get through this thing, you know. And I think we will. I think we just need to you know, work at it pretty hard and make sure that everyone's compliant with that. Let me see. Sorry, these things get hidden. My finger on the screen. So let me know, where are you chatting from? Where'd you come in from? Maybe let me know how things are going in your house. Is there any other questions that you might have? I want to make sure that I'm answering any questions that might come up. And then any topics that you think would be great, you know, for a video. I'm working on a couple videos related to, you know, the quarantine and coronavirus and how us as parents can cope and manage and also help our children. And so if you have questions related to that, I'd be happy to answer. And I've got a couple minutes here more. I got to go back to writing a lot of the information down just to make sure I have it all for the videos. And so, you know, doing that and brainstorming and stuff. And what time is it right now? It's almost 7 o'clock on Pacific time. So we just had dinner as a family. And yeah. So Luis, Southern California, yeah, things going good. Still working. Yep. Yeah, for the people that are still working, you know, that's the part that's always hard. A grocery clerk, that's, you know, you make those choices, and sometimes you have to. You know, some people are forced to. One of my neighbors is a pilot. And they're dealing with that, you know, and that whole thing. And then I've got other, you know, people that I've seen that own businesses and small businesses, and then other people, you know, that are being laid off. Their businesses are closing, and you know, it's really, really just changes what's going on. I don't want to say scary, although it could be described as that. It's going to be different. And the unknown is really what's scary. What I would propose for anybody who's listening, watching, going to watch this on replay, what I would propose is to not buy into the fear. I was just recently reading something in which an article talked about the fear spreads more than the actual virus itself. And so what happens is, you know, you think of like a herd of animals, and one animal gets scared or gets frightened or is about to be attacked or whatever. Granted, other animals, and then the animal runs. Other animals will run without even knowing what's going on. You see that in crowds often. You know, let's say there's a gunshot. And, you know, not everybody hears it, not everybody sees it, not everybody, you know, whatever. But like some people are involved. They start screaming or running or whatever. And then it becomes a mob where other people are simply reacting to what the other people are doing. They actually don't even know what's going on. They just know, oh my gosh, this person's scared, so I need to be scared. And that's often like it's subconscious. We do that, and sometimes that helps us be safe. Other times, though, it helps perpetuate the fear. And I see that with the news and everything else going on, is that every single story is negative and fear based. And what happens is that when you start talking to people and we start, let's say I get on here and start saying, oh, wow, this is so scary. We don't know what's going to happen. But if I start talking like that, that pushes my fear into you and everybody else who listens or hears it or watches it. And then that spreads, and then that spreads. And so that's a concern, that we don't want to spread the fear. We want to spread the fact that, okay, let's take care of our families, let's take care of ourselves, we're going to get through this. That's what we want to spread. And so when you end up spreading the fear, which I feel like so much of the news and information does, it feels very, very bad. And it feels like the fear is what spreads, faster than anything else. So just keep that in mind. How you act is how your children are going to act. They're going to, yeah, Rockmeister, still working TSA. Yep. Yeah, the fear stuff is definitely reality. Hey, Brandon from Anchorage, Alaska, right on. Good to see you here. Erica from Chicago. Yeah. So Erica, yeah, you're gonna just make sure you can you do go for a walk and you know what, even if you aren't supposed to stay in all whatever, I'd say stay in as much as you can, except going for a walk or doing something that that's required. We we got to beat this thing, and it's going to take all of us doing it. I mean, up to a few days ago, there were people still where we live near the coast in San Diego that were still going to the beach, and still hanging out and playing volleyball and doing stuff because their kids were off. And finally, they closed the beaches and the parking lots because people weren't listening. And it's a minority of people. The majority of people are complying. But like I said, this isn't about you getting this. This isn't about you getting the virus. It's about spreading it and other people. So I just think it's important that we do that. No, so that's it. I do want to thank everybody. It's my time's going. I've got to get some stuff. I got to keep making more videos. But I hope everyone's doing okay. Everyone stays safe. Let's stay positive. If you have questions, shoot me an email. You can just shoot it to go to the website daduniversity.com. Shoot me an email or get on social media, any of the channels, and just shoot a message. I'd be happy to answer your questions. And let's stay safe. Let's be positive, like I said, and hopefully some new content coming out soon that everyone can enjoy. But until then, you know what? Take care of yourself and each other. So I'll see everybody soon. Have a great night. And thank you guys for being here and, just being part of the community. And it is powerful. So take care.